In our text this morning, Jesus and his disciples find themselves back on the other side of the sea, and before they could get out the boat, Jairus came needing help. The text says that after seeing Jesus, Jairus came up to him, fell at his feet, and begged him repeatedly, "Daughter is at the point of death. Come and lay hands on her so that she may be made well and live." Now that seems innocent enough until you understand the background of this text. You remember I preached this portion of the text earlier this year. You see, Jairus is a synagogue leader, and in other words, someone in high status, someone who had been well respected, someone to whom one would have been given much honor and respect. But the text says that when he saw Jesus, a man with no church, when he saw Jesus, the itinerant preacher, when he saw Jesus, the man who had not been to a rabbinical school, when he saw Jesus, the man who was known to hang out with sinners and outcasts, when he saw Jesus, this man of honor and respect, this man who was the leader of the people, this man dropped to his knees and begged Jesus to come and heal his daughter. In other words, he didn't let his position or his place get in the way of asking for his blessing. And many times we miss out on our blessings because we are too prideful to ask for what we need. Therefore, instead of turning to Jesus, we think our positions can help us. Instead of turning to Jesus, we think our honor can help us. Instead of turning to Jesus, we think our connections can help us. Instead of turning to Jesus, we think knowledge can help us. But when all that fails, and our children are still sick, when all that fails, when our bodies are still not well, when all of that fails, when our happiness is still hijacked, and when all that fails, when our comfort is still carjacked, it is then that we turn to Jesus. Oh, but I came to remind somebody that you need to turn to Jesus first. No matter your condition or your position, turn to Jesus first. No matter your status or situation, turn to Jesus first. No matter your knowledge or how you know stuff, turn to Jesus first. No matter who you are, where you're going, and whom you're going with, I came to remind somebody here today, turn to Jesus first. When Jairus, one of the leaders of the synagogue, saw Jesus, he dropped his and begged him to come and heal his daughter. In other words, he cried out to the Lord. And I don't know about you, I know we're on the parking lot today. I know the sun is out, there's a breeze every now and then, but somebody here today maybe needs to cry out to the Lord. I don't know what you're going through, but cry out to the Lord. I don't know what's happening in your life right now, but cry out to the Lord. I don't know how long you've been dealing with what you've been dealing with, but cry out to the Lord. I don't know what's hindering you from being all that you were created to be, but I dare you today to cry out to the Lord. When Jairus, one of the leaders of the synagogue, saw Jesus, he dropped to his knees and begged him to come and to heal his daughter. The text says that Jesus went with him, and a large crowd followed him. But in the middle of going to Jairus' house, there was a woman in the crowd who had been suffering from hemorrhaging for 12 years. The text continues to say she had endured much under many physicians and had spent all that she had, and she was no better but grew worse. Now we can't miss this. Here is an unnamed woman in the crowd who is suffering, been suffering 12 years. King James Version calls it an issue of blood. But we really know what this is. This woman somehow was on a period for 12 years. Now, I don't want, but that is a long time. In any case, she had gone to the doctors, but they could not help. But the text makes a serious charge about the doctors. The text says, or infers rather, that the woman endured much under the care of the doctors. In other words, the text implies that the doctors took advantage of this woman and in the process made her spend all she had trying to get better. The doctors got over on this woman by leading her to believe that she was getting better when she wasn't really getting any better at all. In short, the healthcare system of her day failed her miserably. The healthcare system of her day, now I'm not talking about today, but of her day, the healthcare system took all of her money and left her broke and destitute. The healthcare system of her day had her going from doctor to doctor and racked their bills on top of bills. The healthcare system of her day had her seeing a person that really could not help. The healthcare system of her day took advantage of this woman and drained her for all she had. And I'm just talking about her day because I know that doesn't happen today. Of her day. But the text also says that the woman has something up her proverbial sleeve. She heard about Jesus. And when she saw Jesus, she came up behind him in the crowd, touched his cloak, believing that if she just touched his clothes, she would be made well. Now, I got to stop here because my Old Testament scholars know that something is wrong with this picture. This woman should not have been there anyway in the crowd that day. I know she had problems. I know she had issues, but she shouldn't have been anywhere near the crowd on that day. Why? Because of her bleeding, and society deemed this woman unclean. The Levitical law said that she should not have been she should have been rather far away and removed from others because she was unclean. But here is this woman in the crowd risking being caught and ostracized again by society, trying to find a healing. I can hear her saying, I know I shouldn't be here. I know I should be somewhere by myself. I know I shouldn't be around in the crowd. I know that I'm out of place and out of order. But I heard about a man named Jesus, and I just had to come. And I came to remind somebody that society can call you unfit and unclean. Society can put you in the margins of society. Society can call your names and cause you all kinds of pain. Society can say whatever they want about you. But when you hear about Jesus, you can press your way through the crowd. When you hear about Jesus, you no longer have to feel shame. When you hear about Jesus, no longer do you have to answer to the name society gives you. When you hear about Jesus, you don't have to regulate yourself to the sidelines of life. And the good news this morning is that if you dare to believe, your breakthrough is coming, if you believe your deliverance is around the corner, if you believe whatever hell you're back today won't hold you back tomorrow, if you believe your past is not indicative of your future, if you believe and have faith, you just may see and feel your blessing coming through. Because the text says that after she touched Jesus' clothes, immediately her hemorrhage stopped. And she felt in her body she was healed of this disease. I got to stop there, though. Minister Beth said, it don't make any sense. And I know we want to shout there, but we got to examine this healing for a moment. The text says the bleeding stopped. And she felt in her body she was healed. Bleeding stopped. She felt in her body that she was healed. No confirmation on her healing, but she felt in her body she was healed. In other words, without a confirmation and just by faith, she believed that she had been healed. In short, she believed that all she had to do was touch the hem of the garment and she would have been made whole. And I've been trying to get somebody who will listen to me that many times our blessings will come just from a touch. Sometimes our blessings won't come from the prayer cloths and towels. Many times our blessings won't come from somebody speaking them to us. Many times our blessings won't come because we have all that unmitigated gall to have something called faith. We need that faith in our life. Faith, the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Faith, without it, is impossible to please God. Faith, we walk by faith and not by sight. Faith, the just shall live by faith. Sometimes when we need a breakthrough and a blessing, it comes by faith. I know you can't see it right now. I came asking, how is your faith today? I know you don't see how it's going to work out, but how is your faith? I know your body is still sick. How is your faith? I know children are still wayward and out there, but how is your faith? I know you don't understand it all, but how is your faith? How is your faith? I know folks still giving you trouble. I know every now and then you want to use one of those choice words that you thought you forgot how to use. But how is your faith? Sometimes the way we are blessed is a matter of our faith. She believed she was healed. So that's why when Jesus wanted to know who touched him, she could no longer stay in the background. She could no longer be regulated to the margins of society. She had to step up and speak out. So the text says we're fearing, or in other words, in amazement and astonishment, because she knew what had happened to her. She came to Jesus. And just like Jairus earlier, she fell down before him and told him the whole truth. In short, she gave her whole testimony. And can you imagine her story? She had a loving family, was the bedrock of her family, had friends galore, everything that a woman could want for, but she got sick, lost everything, lost her family, lost her friends, lost all of her money. She was regulated to the margins by a system of religion who viewed her unworthy and unclean, unfit and unclean. She had been all alone for a long time. How often did she want to tell her story? But no one would take the time. But Jesus took the time and told him rather the whole truth. We just can't gloss over it, because remember how we got on this road. We were going to Jairus' house, remember? But Jesus stops the procession, takes time and listen to this no-name woman. It's only after she shares her testimony that Jesus confirms what she had already discerned in her own body, that she was healed, delivered, and set free. Oh, by while some may have been celebrating this woman's healing, some people came from Jairus' house to tell him that his daughter is dead. Why trouble more? Your daughter is dead. But Jesus, overhearing what they were saying to Jairus, told him, don't fear, only believe. In other words, Jairus, just have faith. Just have faith. But if you don't know what I'm talking about, Jairus, just have the faith of this woman who pushed her way through the crowd. I know, Brother Jairus, she's not a leader like you. I know, Brother Jairus, she has been ostracized and penalized for things she had no control over. I know she isn't your first choice, Jairus, as a role model of faith. But if you can just believe like this woman, if you can believe like this no-name woman. So when they got to Jairus' house, Jesus saw a commotion. You know the rest of the story. The text says that folk were weeping and wailing loudly. Jesus wondered why they were crying, because he declared the child is not dead but asleep. But instead of seeing if they had made a mistake, instead of investigating the situation further, instead of examining the facts of the case, instead of going over to the girl to see if she was breathing, the text says they just laughed. In other words, they thought Jesus had lost his mind. Well, what's wrong with you, Jesus? Can you see that that this child is dead? Can you see there's no more life in her? Can you see that she's not moving? Can you see that you have made a grave mistake? The child, Jesus, is dead, and there's nothing that anybody can do. And many times in our lives, others have left us for dead. Many people have counted us out. Many folk have said that we are not going to make it because we could not take it. And when we have declared that there is indeed life in our situations, many people have just laughed at us. I can hear somebody saying today, I'm going back to school. Folk laughed at us. My child is going to pass this exam. Folk laughed at us. My marriage will get back together. Folk laughed at us. My ministry will grow, and I will be a blessing to many people. Folk laughed at us. I think I'm called to preach. Folk laughed at us. I'm going to start a business. Folk laughed at us. I should apply for that promotion. Folk laughed at us. They all thought we were crazy. They thought we were naive. They thought we had lost our minds. They thought all of that. They always had negative things to say about us. But I hear somebody asking, what should we do with these type of folk? What should we do with the last folk that's in our lives? The ones who can't see what we see? What should we do with the faithless folks in our lives? Well, I'm glad you asked, because Jesus gives us an answer right here. You got to put them out. Before he woke up, the little girl, Jesus put the naysayers out. The reason why not far along in life that we should be is because you got folk in your life who are laughing at you. Folk that don't see what you see. God has told you about the work that God has for you. But since you are hanging around faithless folk you're hanging around faithless folk and getting depressed because those folk don't believe in you, they don't pray for you, they don't walk with you, they don't talk with you, they're setting you up for fail. You need to put those folk out of your life. The faithless folk out of your life. The ones that don't believe in you, the ones who can't say anything good about you, the ones always laughing at your dreams and your visions. Get them folk out of your life. Get those folk out of your life, because after Jesus put them out, he took the mother and the father along with Peter, James, and John, and faith began to work. Jesus took the little girl by the hand, Talid Kalam, which means little girl, get up. Text says immediately the girl got up and began to walk around, and people were overcome with amazement. I like that, because you know, when you have faith folk who brought faith with them and got faith in them, things can happen. Because they thought that all of that bad stuff that happened to you were going to end your life. They thought when you get divorced that was going to be the end of your life. They thought when you got sick the last time that was going to be the end. But when you put laughing folk out of your life, folk that don't mean you no good and just mean you're bad, things can begin to work out. I don't know about you, but I'm so glad that Jesus came my way, because sometimes you need to know who to call. You know who to call. You knew someone to call. You knew how to press your way through. You knew how to press your way through the crowd. What folks said about you didn't matter anymore, because you knew someone. No matter how they try to push you back or hold you down, you knew someone. Someone who rebuked the evil spirits, you knew someone. Someone who raised the dead, you knew someone. Someone who made the deaf hear and the blind see, you knew someone. Someone who fed 5,000 and made the lame walk, you knew someone. Someone who to the winds and they stood still, you knew someone. You knew someone. That someone is Jesus. I came to declare today that the same Jesus that knew Jairus, the same Jesus that knew this unnamed woman, the same Jesus that knew them laughing folk that he had to put out, the same Jesus who knew those faithless folk he had to kick to the curb. The same Jesus that knew the folk in his own life is the same Jesus we know today, that's alive and well today, that's ready to bless you today, that's ready to give you your breakthrough. Anybody needing a breakthrough today? The same Jesus. That's how you made it. That's how you stood up. That's how you can come each and every Sunday and worship. That's why you can praise, because you heard that voice saying, don't fear, only believe. When you did that, you saw the wonder workings of God in your life. And I don't know about you, but who wouldn't want to serve a God like that?